Hello and welcome to Veggie Lane. I'm Executive Chef Gretchen Hansen and this is my co-host Paula Kyle. On this week's program we're going to be making a lot of fun creative dishes that your whole family can enjoy that are plant-based and good for you with ingredients that you can find in your local grocery store.
And I'm here to ask the questions that you, our viewers, would ask. We hope this information will help you and your family to create delicious meals and assist you in making healthy choices. Gretchen, what are we going to make today?
Well, what we're going to make today, and we talked about this on our last episode, is that we really need to look at some plant-based substitutes for dairy and cream. Because everyone always says, well, I can't go plant-based because I love cheese too much, I love cheese too much, I love dairy too much, I love milk too much, I love cream too much. And that's true. I do too. But as a chef, I can tell you that plant-based cheeses taste amazing. And we're going to make a few of those today. Super simple, super easy. We're going to start with a pink rice pudding. Now, I have pre-steamed this rice. This is a Madagascar pink rice. And in this pan, we have some cranberry juice and some red wine. And I'm just going to put this rice in here. Now, it's been pre-steamed in a very inexpensive rice maker. It's not completely finished. It's about halfway finished. And I'm just loosening the grains and adding them in.
Can I touch it?
Sure, please, yeah.
Okay.
Sort of gummy and rubbery, not completely done. This is a nice whole grain rice. So rather than your minute rice or your rices that have been parboiled, which you really want to avoid, this is filled with fiber, filled with flavor. Now we're going to add a little bit more liquid to this. I'm just going to add a little red wine. It really doesn't matter what you add. It can be liquid. Any liquid you add is going to go into the grain, however.
Okay, so let's say someone didn't want to use red wine.
Use cranberry juice or pomegranate juice. I actually have here, I have a pomegranate concentrate that I really like. I'm going to throw a little of that in there.
And you can get that at your grocery store.
You can get these, all these at the grocery store. And then I'm going to throw in some whole berries. These are blackberries or organic blackberries. And I'm going to throw in some unsweetened cranberries and some diced dried prunes. Because prunes are super sweet and they're amazing. They're a little utilized dried fruit. I think they need to be more utilized. So we're going to pour these in and we're going to mix them together. And we're going to let them to start to move and to work, okay? So they're going to start bubbling away, and what's going to happen is these berries are going to break down, and all the dried fruit's going to plump up, and all sorts of good things are going to happen. I'm going to add just a little bit more liquid in this. Now, in a few minutes, we're going to add our cream to this, because this is going to be a creamy rice pudding. In a few minutes, we'll add our cream. Oh, and I forgot, we're going to add a little bit of berry puree. There's just a tiny little bit of berry puree that I happen to have in my freezer, which I pulled out. And again, you can get these in the freezer section of your grocery store, or just a bag of dried raspberries. Work exactly the same. All right, now this is the important part, Paula, because you've talked to me about making these vegan cheeses and how they seem so complicated. Well, they're really not. The worst part is the pre-planning. I don't know about you, but I always forget to plan the night before what I'm going to have when I get home with my kids. So I'm always like, ugh, and then it's too late to soak the beans or soak the cashews or soak all the things that you need to do. So I invented this very, very quick cook method. So I'm going to take water, and this is going to sizzle a little bit, pour this in the pan. All right, and these are raw cashews, 100% raw. You only want to use raw cashews. And I'm going to put this in the pan with the bubbling water. Now, I will point out that this takes it from a raw dish to a cooked dish, and a lot of people who are eating raw, that's not what they want. Now, you see how this is bubbling away?
Yes.
This is the magic Mike moment. We turn it off, all right? We're going to push it aside and let it sit. In about 10 minutes, those cashews will be ready to strain, and we can make a nut cheese out of them. However, we have some pre-soaked ones over here that we're going to take and put in the Vitamix. So you're going to take the top off the Vitamix, and these have been pre-soaked exactly like these were, and then drained. And what we're going to do here, this is a commercial blender, so it's a little tricky. What we're going to do is we're going to add the cashews right into the Vitamix, okay? And then we're going to pour this water over it. So we want to make sure that we pour a spring water over it. It's going to taste exactly like the water that you have in there. All right, so go all the way to the top. There you go, stop there.
Okay.
All right, now when you get to this point, you're going to get a very, very thick cream, okay? Now, we're not going to season this cream when we start, because we're going to take it in two directions. We're going to use part of this for a savory cream dish, and we're going to use part of this for a sweet cream dish, okay? So we're going to put this on the top, and now some very loud blending is going to ensue.
Okay.
So flip this bad boy up. All Alrighty, so we have some that's pre-done. This would go a lot longer. You see how thick this is, Paula? You see how thick this cream is?
Yes.
That's exactly what we want. It looks like mayonnaise or sour cream, a really thick cream. So we're gonna take this and we're gonna add this into our pudding mixture. And now we're gonna add some sugar in there as well. I have a choice of agave nectar or Demerara brown sugar. Which would you prefer today?
Demerara.
Demerara, okay, we'll throw us a little Demerara in there. And then we're gonna mix this in, and I'm gonna swap spots with you. You're gonna stir this in, and I'm gonna come around to the other side with my watercress and my herbs, and we're gonna finish working on our savory dish over here. Now, this dish over here, we're going to take some water, add this to the pan, and we're going to add a little bit of veg stock, a little bit of cream, and a little bit of our veg base that we've made and we always have ready to go.
And the veg base is on your website.
The veg base is on the website with a how-to, how to make this. So we're gonna add a little bit of that, and we're going to go ahead and puree the rest of our cashew cream. Now, I chose watercress today because watercress just came out as a new superfood, and it's an underutilized food. It is. It's wonderful, and I love it too. And most people are used to having it in little sandwiches. When you were a little kid, you had teas, etc. So I'm just going to throw this in a little bit of water with a little bit of my veg base, and I'm going to throw in my watercress. And this is going to blanch, and I'm going to turn this off and let it just cool. Okay, so we're going to let you bubble away. You're bubbling away quite nicely, and I'm going to turn mine off. You bubble away.
All right.
Keep cooking.
All right.
So while you're cooking, what you're doing is you're incorporating the cream into your pudding. You're getting the sugars all working up, and you're breaking down your blackberries so that your blackberries are working away, and you want it all to bubble together, to meld and bubble together. And I can tell that you're about at the point where you're going to need a little bit more liquid. Now, the rice is also finishing cooking here. The important trick when you're working with a non-dairy cream, and same thing with a dairy cream for that matter, is to make sure it doesn't stick to the bottom of the pan. When you scald, it tastes like burn. Once you scald, you can't go back. So you need to be careful that you keep this burner on low enough and stir often enough that you're not scalding your nut dairy. Okay? But you still want it warm enough that your blackberries pop and all the juices burst and you get all sorts of fun things in here. Now when we come back, we're gonna puree our soup and we're gonna add a couple flavors to our cream to give it a bunch of different flavors to take it into the savory way rather than the sweet side like we did over here.
In your new role, we help you help. Visit aarp.org/caregiving for information on how to provide even better care for the person who once took care of you.
This is the moment I knew. His future had no boundaries.
There are some moments only the forest can inspire. Find yours at discovertheforest.org.
Right, mi cariño. So like I said, everything I learned about cooking, I learned from Grandma's empanadas. Shall we go again?
Yep.
Mix beef with the onions with the peppers with the paprika with the garlic with the oregano with the cumin. Got it?
Got it.
Throw on the olives, stir, season, stir again, pour out the flour, roll out the dough, make a circle, drop in a fistful of filling, fold over, press down, and ta-da!
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush is easier, and it could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain.
you're bubbling away here with your sweet rice pudding, and this is a pink rice pudding. It's perfect for like a birthday party or a special occasion. Easter is perfect for Easter. And it's filled with fiber and filled with natural sugars rather than man-made sugars. I'm gonna come over here and finish our dairy cream watercress soup. And we're gonna make this a warm soup today because it's actually a little bit cold outside. So I'm gonna add my veg base in, and I'm gonna add my watercress in here. And this is going to make a very, very loud noise here for a minute. But we wanna get that cream really nice and emulsified so that it's thick and rich. And this is the one time that I say, by all means, go out and splurge on a good blender, because good blenders emulsify in a way that other blenders do not. So this is my big splurge in my kitchen right here. Not anything else, just this one.
And how many, this is what, about 3 cups, 4 cups?
This is about 4 cups right now, so it would serve 3 people quite comfortably.
Okay.
Or 2 if they were very, very hungry, or if you had something else on the plate. So you see how much that's getting up the green stuff in there. You can really see it working. As soon as you stop seeing chunks, that's when you want to pull it off. As soon as you stop seeing the chunks come off. Okay?
Yes.
All right, I can smell that that smells done. So I'm going to come over here and put this in the pan, and now we're going to heat it up and correct the seasoning a little bit. Now, this is a watercress and cream. So I'm going to use some very, very light seasonings. I'm thinking maybe a little bit of dill. How does that sound to you?
Sounds
Little
wonderful.
dill? Okay, great. So we're going to add a little bit of dill, which I have right here. And maybe just a little bit of herbal sea salt and a little bit of white pepper. And I think that would be it with this one. Sometimes you can add a little bit of basil, but I feel like basil's too strong for a watercress dish. Maybe hand me a little bit of that parsley over there. Let's throw a little of that in here.
How about chives? Could you add chives?
You could. Chives would be great. As a matter of fact, we do have some right over here. Let's go throw some. These are actually baby vidalias, and we're just going to throw a few of these in here and let them soften.
Okay.
Just break them up, let them soften in here, and that gives it a little bit more texture. And we're going to move this around and get it working. Now, we could have put roasted onions in here. We could have done a lot of things. I'm going to add some nutmeg to yours over here.
Okay.
So your agave nectar, if we were just using your pudding, if we were just using the cashew cream for your pudding, we would have added agave nectar and nutmeg and cayenne. Because we were using it for both things, we didn't add the ingredients or the seasonings first. We added to this plate, we added a little bit of sea salt, a little bit of white pepper, and then to this one, we added a little bit of nutmeg, a little bit of agave, so that they have different flavors, that the flavors pop. The cashew cream is very, very bland. And it doesn't taste like a whole lot in your mouth. It's just very rich and very creamy. It's what you add to it that determines what the end result is going to be. And that's great because you can take it either direction, much like a heavy cream. You can take it to a sweet dish or you can take it to a savory dish. It's exactly the same. Now this is starting to bubble away, so I can tell that this is almost done. And we're going to go ahead and plate these up.
So soon?
Yeah, so soon. That's how fast this is. The only thing you really have to remember, Paul, and again, I say if you remember to soak your cashews, I actually keep a container of these in my refrigerator soaked at all time. When you go to use them in your blender, you just pour off the old water and add fresh spring water when you put them in your Vitamix or your blender.
And what can you do with the original water? Can you use that?
No, just get rid of it.
Oh,
Just
really?
don't use it. Get rid of it. You could pour it on your plants. Your plants would love it.
They'd love it.
There you go. But just use fresh water when you puree it and it'll last longer. Now this will also keep for a couple days in your refrigerator.
Okay.
If you keep it covered. It does form a skin very similar to the way that milk does. It actually, as it oxidizes on the surface, you want to make sure that you keep it covered, like something pressed on the top to make sure it doesn't oxidize. But just like milk or cream, it lasts for several days in your refrigerator. But remember that it's fresh, and if you remember to soak these, rather than to do the quick boil method, it's actually raw what you can do with them. Now obviously we're cooking them here, but this is a basis for a lot of raw foods, is raw nut milks.
Now let's say you forgot to soak them, and we just did this about 5, 6 minutes ago. Are these ready to be blended?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, I would drain the water off of this.
Okay.
I'd add fresh spring water and I'd go ahead and blend them.
Okay.
Exactly the same. Now, I invented this method. It's a silly method,
Good.
but I invented it
No,
because
it's not
I forgot
silly.
all the
It's not
time.
silly.
Because I forgot all the time the night before to remember to soak my cashews.
But what is the big difference between, I mean, this almost seems semi-cooked and cooked.
Well, when you're cooking raw, and I use that in quotations, you can't go over 200 degrees.
Okay.
So if we've put this in water over 200 degrees, it's now considered cooked. It's not raw anymore.
Okay.
It matters if you're raw. If you're not raw, it doesn't matter quite so much.
That's
for
good
us,
to know.
for our purposes, trying to get a meal on a table really fast when your kids are hungry and you know your partner's screaming, "I'm starving." This matters, getting it done quickly.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So this is ready to go. Let's go get our bowls and let's try some of this good stuff.
Looks like it's done.
Don't let salmonella get funky with your chicken. On average, 1 in 6 Americans will get a foodborne illness this year. You can't see these microbes, but they might be there. So learn the right temperature to cook each type of meat. Keep your family safe at foodsafety.gov.
They said I couldn't dream. Called me a piece of trash and swore that's all I'd ever be. Said a bottle couldn't see the ocean. Give up. Go back to the dumpster. But I didn't listen. I made my way. And now, I am what I've always wanted to be.
Hart, what's going on?
I'm leaving.
Why? What did I do?
Not enough. You constantly ignore me. You barely eat anything healthy. You're half as active as you used to be. The pressure is just too much. I quit.
Okay, I get it. I'll do better. Just
Please, don't leave. Okay. But remember, if I go, you go.
Listen to your heart. Don't let it quit on you. Uncontrolled high blood pressure could lead to stroke, heart attack, or death. Get yours to a healthy range before it's too late.
What you have here is you have your finished watercress soup. We did a little Vidalia onion and a little dill as a garnish. And you also have your purple rice pudding. So why don't you taste them and see if they're creamy enough for you?
Okay. I'm so excited. They are incredibly creamy.
Right.
That is to die for.
It has a mouthfeel of dairy,
Yes,
doesn't it?
yes, it does.
That's what you're looking for, is that mouthfeel that makes it
It does
full.
taste, you cannot tell the difference. Before I became a vegan, which was 3 years ago, of course I did cream and cheeses, and you absolutely cannot tell the difference. Now, besides watercress, could you use another green like arugula or
You could.
romaine?
Now, arugula is not my favorite green to cook with. I think you ruin the flavor of arugula when you actually heat it. If you were doing an arugula, I would make it a cold soup, for example. I would do the cream and then just puree the arugula and make it a chilled soup. I love doing this type of soup with broccoli or root vegetables.
Ooh, yes, yes.
You have to blanch them. You have to cook them. You can't just puree the raw ones that are heavy vegetables. You have to actually break them down a little bit. The thing I like about the very light things like dandelion greens and watercress and arugula is, first of all, you're getting your greens, or baby kale even. You're getting your greens, but you don't have to cook them considerably. And if you remember to soak your nuts, this is actually something I serve in the restaurant as a raw dish where I soak my nuts before so I'm not eating them, and I take the watercress and don't blanch it. I just use the watercress straight, and that way I can have an entirely raw soup. Just a little bit of herbs, a little bit of spices, and that's really, it's beautiful as a chilled soup. Beautiful.
And so, okay, if you used a root vegetable, what root vegetable would you use?
You could use any root vegetables you wanted to. The sky's the limit. The only limit is your imagination here. So a lot of root vegetables, I think I would probably roast. So I would do a roasted root vegetable. I use this cream as a basis for a roasted celery root soup, which I love celery root. I can't help it. It's the little Jane Austen in me just loves celery root. So I roast celery root and then make that into a roasted root of celery soup, which is fantastic.
Now, for my sake, and maybe some of our viewers, name some more root vegetables.
Okay, something a little bit more common.
My mind is going blank here.
Rutabagas, parsnips, turnips, potatoes, sweet potatoes, butternut squash, all of those vegetables. They're not all root vegetables, but they're all winter type of vegetables can be used. I'm going for a little bit of light spring here because I don't know, like everyone else, I'm sort of hoping it gets to be spring very soon. So a little bit of light spring here. But this is a perfect Easter dish. It's a perfect holiday spring dish, Mother's Day dish. Something you could do. Try the pudding. The pudding is fantastic. I'm very immensely proud of that. Not bad, huh? Not bad.
And you know what? All these flavors, there's all these different flavors that keep coming up. It's very, very interesting, and it's
important point. And the thing that is so important about this is we did not just use one fruit. We used about 4 or 5. We used pomegranate, we used a little cranberry juice, we used red wine, we used prunes, we used cranberries, we used blackberries. And then the Madagascar pink rice also has its own immensely bold flavor. So we added all these flavors together and they're melding and adding in combination as well. That raspberry puree should really pop right out of there. Then on top of that you put the cream in, so not only do you now have a rice pudding, you have a fruited rice pudding that's incredibly rich, incredibly decadent, and not one-dimensional at all.
No,
not
it's
one-dimensional.
like 10-dimensional.
It's fireworks.
I swear to God, it tastes 10-dimensional.
So that's what we're going for with these dishes. Is obviously this was so easy. Look how quickly we did that.
Really?
I mean, granted, I did the prep a little bit beforehand, but very little. So we're looking at something that has an incredible bold flavor, something that you're not going to get bored with, something that you could eat every day.
It's not boring
but
at all.
Also, you're not consuming a half a quart of cream here. You're consuming raw cashews, which, as we all know, are amazing for you.
Yes.
So raw nut oils are fantastic for you. So you're doing something that's very, very heart healthy and very good for your body as well. And I don't know about you, but as I get older, that's something I'm more and more concerned about.
Absolutely.
Is what I'm putting in my body and what my body is going to give back to me.
Yes. And besides the pink rice, which is delicious, could you use just regular brown rice?
You could use regular brown rice. My favorite is actually black forbidden rice. That's one of my favorite puddings. And when I do that, I use blueberries. Blueberries and black forbidden rice is a wonderful combination. So you want to sort of play with the different rices. All different rices have different flavors, and there's so many now available. I got this Madagascar pink rice. I said that I was going to do these in grocery store items. So I've actually made an effort to go to the grocery store and pick things off the shelves. And this was a little 1-pound pack of Madagascar pink rice, and there you go. It turns into a rice pudding.
Well, black forbidden rice, I will go to my grocery store and look at that and try it with blueberries, because that sounds very interesting as well.
So I'm glad you enjoyed these things, and I can't wait till next week when we do some more dairy.
I can't either, and for our viewers that are interested in making these recipes ourselves, they're going to be uploaded into myhobos.com, which is Gretchen's website, so they'll not only be written out, but this video is also going to be on the website.
And we'll see you next week on Veggie Lane.